maybe we can share. Yes. Today we will be discussing organizational structures and how do they relate to the project management. Okay, this is our topic today. So our organizational context matters for projects. I mean, we say that every company somehow engage with the projects, but not all of them actually designed for project management, right? I mean, maybe you remember there are different organizational structures in management to manage the functions, different divisions of a business to create their products and services. So how project management sits in that picture? I mean, today we will be talking about this, and these are the learning objectives. I'm passing them. Somehow projects are an organizational strategies, right? Because strategic management actually develop some projects. They base their goals and objectives on projects. For example, they want to increase the market share, so they develop a project to introduce a new product into the market, for example. So this is a project, and this serves for achieving strategic goals and objectives. So this is number one thing about projects and the relation with the organizational context, because the strategic management actually create a future plan for companies' goals and achievements. And the strategic management also defines the competition understanding of a company, of a firm. And projects here are related with these the elements of strategic thinking, strategic management. What does that? What are those strategic management elements? I mean, actually, this was our last course's topic, right? We dedicated the semester to understand what strategic management is, and in this time we develop in strategic management. We develop some mission and vision statements, right? I mean, the overall existing reason of the company, the mission, right? Why this company exists, what do they produce, what do they serve, and what are their vision about their future, where do they want to become in the future. And they formulate strategic plan in their strategic plans. First, they formulate their goals and objectives, and then they implement them, and then they evaluate them, whether they are meeting their planned activities or not. And this is a cross-functional decision as well. I mean, all of the companies, departments come together and create a strategic plan, create a strategic path for the companies. And the main idea here is achieving objectives. And here we use projects a lot. I mean, to reach some specific objective, as I give the example before, we use projects a lot. Think about, you listed, let's say, 10 objectives for your company in the next 3 to 5 years. And for each of these goals, for each of these objectives, actually you need to define how do you realize that goal and objective, right? And you need to develop some new ideas, some new projects. This is why organizational strategy is very related to project management. So generally, you need to evaluate what you are doing, right? I mean, whether you are successful or not. For example, you list some goals, objectives, you plan for some projects, right? You plan to do these projects, realize these projects, and then how do you measure them? How do you check them whether it's a good fit, whether you are doing okay or not? So this is why your goals should be smart. We call them like that, smart goals. You need to pick smart goals for your company. What do you mean by that? The specific goals, there should be specific goals in your projects, right? that these goals should be measurable by numbers or by quality, but you need to measure. These could be attainable. These could be not impossible goals, right? Realistic goals you need for your company, for your projects as well. Realistic projects, realistic goals. It must be relevant to your company's organizational strategy. I mean, your company's expertise, your company's skills and abilities. If they are not related, your goals are not related to your company's organizational context, it's a problem. And you should also define the time where, when this project will be finished, or when this goal will be attained, right? So this kind of specialties, goal, project objective, project goal should have. And projects reflect the strategies. How come? Yeah, there are some examples here. For example, the strategy of the company, as you mentioned, the strategy of the company is technical or operating initiatives, such as new distribution strategies or decentralized plant operations. So they initiate a new distribution strategy, for example. Okay, they want to create a new distribution channel and decentralize their operation. This is their strategy. They decided to do that. And how they do that, how they realize their strategy? Through projects. For example, through a construction project of a new plant or modernizing your existing facilities. Okay, this is the projects, this is the strategy, this is how they will relate to each other. Let's look at another one, the second one. So development of products for greater market penetration and acceptance. Okay, they aim for, they go for having a market share, having great market share. Okay, greater market share. So they want to introduce new products into the market. So they are actually having projects to develop these new products. Okay, and there are additional examples here. Let's look one more one, and then we can move on. Creation of new strategic alliances. Okay, this is their strategy. So what is their project? Negotiation with supply chain members, including suppliers and distributors. So maybe they want to create a joint project with one of their suppliers. Let's say you are buying some raw material from Africa, okay, to produce your products, and you bring them here to Turkey, and you want to create an alliance with the company, not just buying them the product. Maybe you want to open up a new factory there to have your raw materials yourself with a cheaper expense, right? So you develop a project with them, a strategic alliance with them, and you develop some new plants, some new facilities there outside, or you go to internationalizing. These kind of projects we can mention about. Do you guys understand this difference? How do projects are related to this strategy? Is it clear for you?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I say that the strategies in the project, it's the same planning phase or planning stage in the project life cycle?
No, the strategy is something like umbrella concept.
Mm-hmm.
Strategy is bigger than the upper level of projects. Let's think it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So strategy is the general direction of the company, okay, for the next 5 years. So everything in detail, you put your strategic plan. And for each strategic goal you have, like this list, as you see, for each of your strategy, you develop some new projects. Okay, so
Okay.
project life cycle is different for each of the projects differently. So
Okay.
strategy does not have a life cycle. I mean, strategy is not something like that, but
Mm-hmm.
projects have this life cycle. Okay. Sometimes these projects are very complicated projects. Sometimes they are very easy projects, very simple projects. I mean, sometimes you don't need to, for example, projects for your strategies. Let's say you want to, you have a strategy of expanding your business, okay? And one of the things that you need to do, one of the action that you need to take to employ new people to your company, right? So for employing new people to your company, you don't need to develop some projects, new projects, right? You just employ some new people to your company. So this is an action. This is some activities. So actually, you may think that in strategies, okay, for realizing your strategies, you can use projects, you can use activities, you can use actions. I mean, anything that we can name of. It doesn't necessarily be a project, but generally projects are very commonly used for realizing strategies. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So I think you remember SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So here we also use a different analysis method here. We just use them somehow together, okay, and create a solution to that, or provide some new projects according to the SWOT analysis. How do we do that? I mean, we can use the TOWS matrix here. What do we mean by that? I mean, you listed your strengths, you listed your opportunities, threats, and weaknesses, and you look at them. For example, you have a strength, and you think that this strength is related to one of the external opportunity outside in the market, right? So you use that your strength to realize that opportunity, okay, to maximize that opportunity. So we call them, these kind of projects, as maximax strategies. Okay. So similarly, there is a threat out there in the market. Let's say that the financial threat, okay, economic crisis is a big threat for you, but you have internal state of financial position. You have a high leverage. You have good amount of money in your bank account, so you are ready for this kind of financial economic crisis. Okay, so for example, this kind of strategy. I mean, for meeting that threat, you develop some strategies using your strengths. I mean, this is the idea of this TOWS matrix. Similarly with the weaknesses to opportunities and weaknesses to threats. I mean, so you develop some new projects to minimize your weaknesses, for example. I mean, there's a new technology coming up into your industry and you don't know how to use that technology, for example. You are unaware of the technology and you develop a project to accepted technology into your company, for example. Okay, for example, you want to build up a R&D department in your company to catch up with these new technologies, these opportunities, and you by developing these projects, these kind of high-tech projects, IT projects, you actually minimize your weaknesses. So this is SWOT analysis is a part of strategic management as well. So again, you see that we make a connection between organizational strategy and project management, right? As I said before, let me repeat that again. So a company has an overall direction, okay? A company has some missions, a company has some goals. With or without some projects, they have it, right? They have a mission to do something, or they have a vision to be somewhere in the future. So while they are realizing this, actually they can use projects, not necessarily, but they can use projects, and they mostly use projects. And while using that projects, they need to relate these projects to their strategies. I mean, you cannot or you should not engage in projects that is not in your mission, that is not related with your strategy, right? That is not unrelated to your company's skills and objectives. So this is why strategy and project links are important in organizational context. Another issue in organizational context is stakeholder analysis, stakeholder management. This is also related to strategy. What's a stakeholder? Anyone remind us what was that instead of stakeholder? Humeira, you come late. So you should answer this question. What's a stakeholder?
Okay, hocam. For example, things about we have some. Can I speak Turkish?
No, Mohammed doesn't understand Turkish. I'm sorry.
Okay. Maybe can I example, for example, society, owners, customers. These are our stakeholders.
Yes.
You have a like a, you should think about like a system, and the system parts includes the stakeholders. As I say again, suppliers, employers, and etc.
Yes, yes, you are right. I mean, thank you. So stakeholders are the parties who are affected by our activities. Okay, Um, like you say, the customers, the suppliers, even society, other people, banks, rivals, and everyone are stakeholders. So somehow we are in relation with them, and our activities are impacting their lives, affecting their lives or their businesses. So stakeholder management is an important aspect of the company, of the organizational strategy. Sorry. Why? Because when you know who is more important for you as a stakeholder, when you can define which stakeholders are more helpful for you to focus on, actually you can develop better strategies. You can even ask them, you should even ask them their opinions about your company, their opinions about your goals and objectives. What should I do, for example, for the next 5 years? And you ask them, you take their ideas, you take their comments, and then maybe you can change your strategies. For example, asking the customers their opinion about your projects, about your products. It's a very common way of taking the idea of their stakeholders, your stakeholders, right? So these kind of things are very common in organization strategy. What about with the project stakeholder? So sometimes you do the project not individually or not limited to your company, right? You do a project with your customer, for example, or with another company. You do it with an alliance form, the joint you are doing with other companies, or you are impacting a third party. You're impacting a group of people in the society, right? So we call them project stakeholders, limited to the project. I mean, not like the all stakeholders of the company, but you have a project in your company, and somehow there are some people, there are some groups who are related with that project. These are your stakeholders, project stakeholders. So why this is important? Why we give importance to that stakeholders? Because actually they are related to the they are the ones who decide the success of the project. Okay? For example, think about these stakeholders listed there. Start with the clients, right? External stakeholders outside of the company. So the client who gives you the money to realize that project, or the client you are developing your new products to consume that, right? So they decide whether your project is okay, whether your final product at the end of that project is a good one, a success or failure, right? This is why their ideas, their taste, their needs, their wants is important for you. Again, your competitors, I mean, you are developing some projects, but they are developing similar projects with you in a competitive environment. So their ideas, their decisions, their strategies are very related with your strategies and decisions, right? Similarly, suppliers who provide you the raw material, right? Or other environmental, political, consumer, and intervening groups. I mean, anyone who have a relation with your projects, we call them external stakeholders, and their ideas matter for us in terms of the determining the project success or failure. Internal stakeholders as well, we can list them. Project team members, of course, the main stakeholders of the project, but somehow other members in your organization are as well stakeholders. For example, top management, they do not intervene in your projects in detail, in your daily works, in detailed works, but you need to report them, right? Your project. I mean, they, for example, give you some amount of money, some budget to realize that project, and they are waiting for your reports. What about that project? Whether it's a success, whether it's a failure, right? So how was that, right? This kind of a question. So you are reporting them. This is why they are important for you. Your accountant, about the project budget, about the project financial issues, or other functional managers. You are using their resources. I mean, we'll come to that point. You are using their people, for example. You consist of a team from other departments, from other functional departments, and you borrow their team members. So this is also they're also your stakeholders, guys. Okay. Yes. Any thing that you want to ask up to here about the stakeholders strategy?
No, hocam.
So this is how you manage stakeholders. You first assess the environment. What do I mean by assessing the environment? You decide the current, you actually determine the current situation about your environment. I mean, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities and threats, and similar things like that. And then you identify the goals of the principal actors. Principal actors, by principal means who gives you the project, who want the project from you, right? It could be your top managers, it could be your clients, principal actors who want you the projects, who want the project from you. These are more important than you, right? Than the other ones. For example, clients are mostly more important than your suppliers in terms of thinking their needs and wants. Okay, give me a minute. Sorry. One minute, guys. Yes.
Hocam,
Evet.
we say that clients is more important for any project, but maybe we can develop this project and then maybe we can different customers. It's possible.
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, I said sometimes, and maybe in some cases, maybe not clients, maybe top managers are more important for you, right? Because they give you the budget and the project details. So principal means here, there is a theory of agency theory, principal and agent. Principal who gives you a delegation of authority and power to do something, okay? They want you to do that. Maybe sometimes it is the top managers who ask your team to develop a new product, to develop a new project, right? So then these are your principal actors. These are more important for you. But sometimes you're a company, there's a customer come to you and asks you to develop a new project, right? And then these customers are, these clients are the principal actors for you. Is it clear now?
Yes, hocam. Thank you.
Not necessarily always the clients, but in most cases, the clients the customers are more important stakeholders, right?
As I understand, it depends on the project to project.
Yes, yes, yes. And there are sometimes projects, for example, social projects, social responsibility projects. There is no customer for that. There are beneficiaries for that, right? Who,
yes,
right? So it could be different. Then you assess your own capabilities, you define the problem, develop solutions, test and refine the solutions. These kind of processes, we will be talking about this. But the important thing here, you need to decide who are your primary stakeholders, who are your secondary level stakeholders. Okay. And another important issue, do they change by time? Sometimes some stakeholders are more important at the beginning of the project, And at the end of the project, some stakeholders are more important. It could be. What do they expect from the project? Each stakeholder. How do their expectations fit your planning? And always you need to communicate with them, take their opinions and feedbacks, and you always open your channels to reach them, right? Throughout the project. Yes, organizational structure. Yeah. Organizational structure is actually groupings of the organization within the organizations, formal reporting, and system designs, communication designs. Actually, I think you remember these kind of organizational structures, right? Functional structures, metric structures. Do you remember that these from your previous courses from undergraduate? The functional organizations, metrics organizations, simple organizations. Huh? Do you?
I guess I remember.
Mm-hmm. So the idea here is, let's look at that. I think you now remember better. This is an organizational structure, a simple one, a functional one, sorry. So here you see that departmentalization is done. There are president of, vice presidents of marketing, production, finance, and research. And there is a chief executive at the top of them. And the other details, sub-categories, sub-directories are under these vice presidencies. And they are, as you see, structured as functions, right? So what is the importance of this structure to our project management, right? I mean, because this is not only one structure in organization structures, right? There are different structures, and which one to use for project management. So you are a regular company who have their functional departments and operating their businesses, and you want to do a project. You want to manage a project. So what are some strengths for you and what are some weaknesses for you? Here, actually, you develop your project within the structures. You don't need any change. It's a good thing because change means cost at the same time, right? And also you can use an in-depth knowledge and intellectual capital in your functions departments that allows for standard career paths. I mean, normal people do not leave their functional departments to work for your project, right? They are done doing that within their functions and they are promoted. And sometimes it could be difficult to achieve cross-functional cooperation because in this kind of companies, generally these functions are divided from each other. They don't have a good communication between them. Everyone is reporting to their upper level managers, and then they don't have a really good communication. So it could be a cooperation problem within them. There could be lack of customer focus because sometimes customers needs requires you to be flexible, but in a functional structure you are not flexible. I mean, you use the existing structure. You just do within these structures the projects. You just do the project within the structures, and it could be cost you longer time. And people's interests and commitment may vary. They don't want to work in projects. They may see that as a burden. They may see it as a hard thing to do. They may refrain from doing projects, right? But it's not only one structure. There are some organizational structures who are focusing on project organizational structure. As you see here in the graphic, for each of the projects, they are listed here, project alpha, project beta. There are three teams coming from other departments, right? And there is a functional department of project department here, as you see, right? And they use people from other departments. They create a team here, project team, and they develop that team. They develop that project. So here, the project manager has the authority over the other departments. There's an improved communication between departments, effective decision making, You create project management experts. People work, their main work is working on projects, but in the functional structure, their main motive is they realize their functional departments requirements, right? And then rapid response to market opportunities. And you can form any team, right? For example, there are different projects requiring different teams. I mean, there's an IT project. For that, for example, you can compose a team that you use more engineers in your company. I mean, you are flexible, right? You just form the team. Or there are some other construction projects. I mean, you need some architectures, right? You put them in your teams. Or there are some advisor projects. I mean, you need a marketing expert. You can use that. So it gives you the flexibility to respond to the market opportunities and needs. However, this kind of a structure is expensive to maintain because, I mean, in your functional department, I mean, these are people who are already paid with your regular salary, and they additionally do these kind of projects. Generally, they do not get any additional payments. But in some kind, in structures like that, I mean, maybe sometimes you need more people in research, for example, more people in finance, and you have to find that people. And you see that maybe your human resources are used by some projects. I mean, but you need more. I mean, how can you arrange that, right? This is expensive to set up. Chance of loyalty to the project rather than the firm is a problem because sometimes there are projects bigger than the firms, right? There are these kind of projects are more impactful, more more exciting for the workers, and they may think that they may have a loyalty for the project rather than the firm. This could be happening, right? Difficult to maintain a pooled supply of intellectual capital. So a pooled supply by means that here are people, they don't have a regular job, they are waiting for projects. For example, in marketing, there are 10 people, in production, there are 10 people, each of them, there are 10 experts you have, and they are waiting for the projects, right? What if there's no projects? They are doing nothing. Or what if there are more projects, right? How can you maintain a pool that much expert people, I mean, there, right? It's hard. And sometimes team members have a concern about the future once project ends, because now you pay people based on projects, right? They don't have a regular salary. They have a salary as long as the project continues, for example. Let's say there's a system like that. So they may have a stress about that idea, right? Because projects are time limited, they are shorter than regular job sites for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years. But what if I cannot find an additional project at the end of the time, the deadline? They may think about these kind of concerns. And there are some matrix structures here. There is a department on projects, and other functional departments exist, but they are using the same sources, same resources. Here, the project manager, the project president, asks resources from other functional departments. And there are some directors of these departments, like vice presidents of marketing. They're asking, for example, 2 people from there, 2 people from others. So these kind of things, and they are using that people within the projects, and then they send them back to their functional departments. I mean, so it's a dynamic thing. It gives functional efficiency and project management an equal emphasis. So it does not give all of the people to the project management and leave the other regular production. They continue their functional efficiency, and it creates coordination and it maximizes scarce resources. So you use both resources. I mean, use the same resources to create more than one thing, right? People who both works for in marketing, for example, in regular products, and also at the same time they work for the project. For example, 2 days a week they are working for the project, 3 days a week they are working for their regular jobs, these kind of things. But here there's a problem. There are dual hierarchies. So there are two bosses for each workers right here. One project manager, two functional managers. So sometimes these managers may have conflict with each other, right? Sometimes these functional departments may hesitate to give the resources to the project managers. They don't want to lose their, for example, good employees to the projects. Okay, let's say I'm a functional manager, marketing manager. You are my team. You are very hardworking, and we have a deadline for making some sales for this month. And some project managers come ask me to use my people, to use my stuff in their projects. I may say that I don't let you to use them because I need them in my project, not in my operation, in my marketing, right? So this could be problematic. And also workers can be caught between competing project and functional demands. Sometimes project manager asks you to do something, but the functional manager asks to do the opposite. So what would you do? I mean, who will listen? Who will you expect, right? And there are some organizations who are heavyweight project organizations. They are fully dedicated to projects, okay? And they want to benefit from the projects. They just work when there's a project, and their structure is all focused on projects. We call them project organizations. I mean, this graph shows the manager's perception of effectiveness of various structures on project success. So most of the managers on new product development projects and construction projects think that functional organizations are ineffective. Functional metrics or balanced metrics are also ineffective, but project metrics organizations are more effective for these projects, right? They say that. So also there are some within the organization, there are some forms, there are some offices for project management. We call them PMO, project management offices. So what do? They provide the resource for the technical details, for the expertise, repository, and center for excellence. So these work like that, the PMO, project management office, right? They support people, support other functions in developing their projects. For example, you have a metrics structure. There are functions in your company, right? Marketing function, research and development function, finance function. But not everyone are experts on projects, right? For example, a marketing manager wants to develop a new project, but they don't have any idea how to do that, how to do the bureaucratic stuff, how to give them, how to divide the job, how to make a plan, how to monitor that. They don't know that. And these PMOs, the project management offices, provide that support for them. So they provide project management guidance and to the project managers in the business units. Okay. Also, they provide support for the process and methodology, how to develop and implement a process for their projects. They provide training for them to do their projects, and they also a centralized office for project managers. Okay, and they also provide consultation and mentoring for employees as well. So this kind of project management offices could be here. So where they could be in the organizational structure, they could be under the business units, or they could be above the business units. Okay, this is the organization structure level. I mean, all of the organization could have one project management office, or let's say some business units have their project management office, other business units have their project management office. I mean, because some business units are very different from each other. Think about the R&D department and the sales department. I mean, sales projects and R&D projects are very different. R&D projects are very technical, very innovative, high-tech projects, but sales department projects are marketing projects, right? So maybe there could be different project offices in corporations, in businesses. What kind of PMOs that we can think of? What kind of different PMOs that we can talk about? We can talk about a weather station model, which just like a weather station monitor the weather, right? Whether it's sunny, snowy, or windy, right? They monitor and track, and if there's a problem, they intervene. this would be the project management office mission in a company, monitoring the projects of the business units and telling them, for example, you are doing okay, you are doing that, you are doing model, this kind of thing. Or control tower to protect and support all of the projects, right? Project management and resource pool, like a pool of people or professionals in there, sitting in there, and waiting for other business units to call them to realize their projects. So you need a new project member, I mean, you take it from project management office. Okay. This control tower, we said it. This could be, these PMOs could be supportive, control, focused, and directed, right? Supportive means supporting to the projects, low influence on the projects, they don't intervene a lot, but when there's a need for them, they provide support. Control ones, actually they requires compliance with their framework and methodologies, they provide them standard for the projects, they want reports, right? And everyone who do projects actually should fit to that requirements, these kind of things. And directive one, they actually they have a high degree of control and influence. They inject professionalism into projects and they direct people to do that. Okay, you need to do that, you need to do that. They actually somehow they manage the project and they direct the others business units. There could be problems about these PMOs, like lack of communication, lack of senior management support. What do you mean by that? I mean, you open up a project management office, but top management team, CEOs, board of directors, they don't give a care for them. They don't think that it's a very important thing, right? So they don't have a power over other business units. So they don't have the required result at the end of the day. Lack of experienced and skilled project managers. It's hard to find skilled project managers. Lack of solid process in place and lack of funding, lack of money, right? It's hard to create a pool, paying people to sit there and wait for the project, right? It's hard. And sometimes there are less money and they don't want to keep these project management offices open. Lastly, organizational culture is important about projects. The culture of the organization is an unwritten thing, right? It actually gives you direction on the direction to the people on how to behave, right? And all members, actually new members, somehow are affected by this organizational culture. So what kind of factors affect the cultural development of the organization? It could be technology, environment, geographical location, reward system, rules and procedures, religion, culture, their historical background, right? These key organizational members, all of them can create culture. So actually culture is also effective in project management because in some companies there are project cultures, right? I mean, all of the company's members, company's workers have a mentality of developing projects, investing in projects. They like doing projects. But in some organizations, they are old-fashioned. They don't like new things. They don't want to engage in new projects. They want just continue their functional, their regular operations, right? So this could be also related to organizational culture. Yes. Okay, this is it for today, for me, for the lecture. Any questions about the lecture material?
No questions.
No, Hocam.
Mohammed? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you for listening. I am stop recording.